what do you think meaningful would be in the States in terms of a federal funds rate?
Here's the interesting thing. The Fed has been saying, look, I'm going to be tight, I'm going to crush this inflation, etc. We've had inflation above 2%, which is the Fed's target rate, since March 2021. Right. That was the first time where it moved meaningfully above. In March 2021, I think I'm quoting from memory, but I think the reading was like 3.1 or 3.2. So it was 50% above target. So March 2021. Since then, they kept expanding the balance sheet from March 2021 till April 2022. Right.
They kept putting fuel on the fire. Yeah.
They kept from March 21 to 22, the Fed balance sheet kept increasing by anywhere from 30 to 80 billion a month. Since April 2022, so now 4 months, how much has the Fed balance sheet shrunk?
Oh, yeah.
How much
not
is
not at all.
Like 5 billion, like peanuts. It's flat. So you had inflation accelerating. They kept adding. Now, we also know that monetary policy acts with a lag. It's like 18 months to 2-year lag. So today we have negative real rates of, pick your number, -5, -6%. We have a Fed balance sheet that is not shrinking, and that was expanding up until 4 months ago. It was still expanding, and we're in an energy crisis.
Yeah.
So why is inflation going to roll over? You could tell me base effects, it's going to roll over because of base effects, etc. But again, inflation also has this nasty tendency of feeding on itself.
Right. Well,
prices go up. People ask for higher wages.
Right.
And then
that's the fear of every central planner, right? Is that the consumer mindset changes where they really begin to lose faith in the purchasing power of the currency, so they start spending it faster because they fear if they wait, it's going to buy less, and that just feeds on it too, right?
Look, the big question is, we've had for 20 years a disinflationary mindset. Do people still have that, or have things changed? And I think in that respect, the coming winter will be essential, because if we get more supply chain dislocations because of the unfolding energy crisis, then yes, we're screwed. Then the inflation isn't rolling over anytime soon.
Okay. And it just sounds like from the comment you're making that you believe that supply chain disruptions, of a certain extent at least, will be present due to some energy shortages. I don't want to make it sound like you're predicting that Europeans are going to freeze in their homes over the winter, but it doesn't sound like you're very optimistic that they're going to avoid at least some continued energy issues, and you think that will continue to support the supply chain inflation that we're seeing.
So, last summer, there were energy shortages in China. You had massive energy shortages in China. And the way the government responded was to basically tell the steel mills to shut down, to tell the petrochemical plants to shut down, to tell the naval shipyards to shut down. So last summer, if you look at, for example, steel production in China, you see this massive collapse, and then it comes back again in the fall. But China ran out of energy last summer and reopen all the coal mines and turn back to coal as a result.
Right. And they got in a massive bidding war with other countries for those resources, right?
Those resources. Yep. And so fast forward to Europe. I don't think people will freeze to death in Europe this winter, because when push comes to shove, if you're a policymaker and you don't have energy, you tell the steel mill, okay, you're not getting any. And the petrochemical plant, you're not getting any. The consumer still gets it, because indeed, you're not going to let grandma freeze in the dark so that you can produce cars. Now, here's the big problem is Europe is actually, deeply integrated. The whole point of Europe was to be deeply integrated, so that if you're Volkswagen, you can produce, I don't know, I'm picking this out of thin air, but you can produce the gearbox in Slovakia and the brake pads in Poland and the tires in Spain, and you put it all together in a factory in Germany. But if you have just one country, if I think a car is 13,000 different pieces, right, and you're missing one, you've got an extremely heavy paperweight. You got an extremely heavy paperweight. It's and so you look at Europe with its 27 different countries, and a number of them in a very precarious energy situation, I think this winter, you are going to have supply chain dislocations in Europe. And to think that this isn't going to impact production in Europe and from there the rest of the world, because Europe's a massive exporter of machine tools, massive exporter of cars, massive exporters of chemical products, of specialty steels, of lots of things. And I think we're heading to a very likely another supply chain dislocation this winter.
If you enjoyed this video clip, click here to watch another one you should like.